Welcome to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today I have the privilege of being in conversation with my next guest. I am joined by the president and founder of Unmatched Athlete, a Maryland-based nonprofit that encourages LGBTQ plus and allied youths between the ages of 5 and 18 years old to engage in sports and fitness. Please welcome Olanrele Oni. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's a great opportunity. It's a great privilege to be here. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm glad we were able to chat for a bit and kind of like set levels a little bit, which I always like. I like that. It's like you're checking the knobs, make sure the sound is on point. Um, so before we get into like the main crux of today's like conversation, and I want to get a little bit about sort of your background, like your story and the sort of introductory portion here. And then we might, shift into like that athletic background and ultimately starting Unmatched Athlete. So if you will, start off with a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Rob. So a little bit about myself. Do you want the Oprah story, or do you want like the Ricky Lake story? Anyway, for those who did, it's a people who didn't do it.
I mean, I
There's
like the
no
Ricky
Ricky.
Lake story. I like the Ricky Lake
Okay,
story. There's a
that's
Baltimore
not
connection
Ricky
there.
Lake. So no, it's not. But anyway, so yeah, a little bit by myself. I was born in Akron, Ohio. I went back to Nigeria when I was a toddler. And the only memory I had of America was I told this story to lots of people. It's a little boring, but anyway, but I was behind a vehicle. I know this for a fact. And I saw a big M shape, yellow M shape, and I knew, and obviously the car was on its way out. It was leaving, that vicinity. So obviously we went to a McDonald's. So so that's the only memory I have of America as a toddler. So I lived in Nigeria for going on to 15, 16 years. Came back to the States in 2000, and I've been in the States ever since. I got my bachelor's degree in political science at UNBC. Go Retrievers. Uh, I on my day job, I work for the Department of Human Services, and I have a lovely husband, Justin Fair. Love you. And I started Unmatched Athlete in 2020, which was a great time to start a nonprofit.
That's a thank you, and that is a nice primer. And what's more American than McDonald's? What's more American than both
Exactly.
arches? They talk about American is apple pie.
Oh, yes.
It's more like those fried pies, a little. Um,
Yes.
so so talk about like starting like Unmatched Athlete. Like, what was the sort of vision? What was the sort of spark there? You were like, no, there's a need for this. Like, when I trace back to doing this, right? Like some of those early episodes, mine was out of spite. I was like, yeah, I'm getting tired of people talking about
Mm.
Baltimore. I was like, I told you about my spiciness earlier. So,
I did. Yeah, you did. I should say, no, I did.
so what was the sort of like feeling and the thoughts and the motivations leading up to like starting this as you said in 2020?
Yeah. I feel like, well, maybe I'm not projecting to you, but projecting to everyone else. When you start something, there's a little bit of selfishness in it. And really selfishly, I never really had an organization like this, when I was younger, that would encourage LGBTQ plus youth to participate in sports and have fun. I mean, but really the genesis of it in 2020 was during that time period. Obviously, a lot was going on in the country and the world. We had a global pandemic, and we also had the Black Lives Matter movement. But in addition to that, there was a Black Trans Lives movement as well.
Yeah.
So, and I believe the amount of trans women that were murdered doubled from 2019 to 2020. So I was just, as I mentioned, but I got my degree in political science. So I am a politics junkie. Okay, I won't lie about that. But I certainly don't want to run for office. I certainly want to do anything in that arena. That's just not my gig. But so I have a tendency to talk a lot, which you'll find out.
Oh,
So I was talking basically talking my husband's brain off, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to be able to do something. I didn't know exactly what it was, and I've always had a passion for sports. I love sports. Never played collegiately. And I'm certainly not a professional player at any level, in any realm whatsoever. In the alternate universe, I would not be a professional player as well. But I definitely know. I think I will always have that passion for sports. And if you look at TV, if you watch, in the NBA right now, I'm pretty sure there's no one that is who identifies as LGBTQ plus and is an active player.
right.
So if you're in our community, well, and if you're a younger person, you don't really see yourself, you don't really feel like you belong in that space because you don't see yourself. But most importantly, also, there's a level of don't really get to build empathy when you don't see people when you are younger. And I started to think about that. Like, if you don't identify, or if you're younger and you're still, when you're young, there's a lot you're going through in your mind. But if you don't see that person represented, then how can you view them as human? How can you view people in our community as human? Um, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to create Unmatched, was to be able to change sports, quite honestly, and be able to have younger kids be able to change that narrative. That's, you can play if sports is for you. And you can, I was going to use a word, but I won't use that. But you can go out there and be the best at it. And even if you just want to play and have fun, which is what sports is, you can do that. Or if you want to build it to be a collegiate athlete or a professional athlete. And I feel like if we created that space, and as we continue to grow, that a lot of younger kids will end up wanting to become professionals because they'll go through our program. So that's essentially the long story to why I wanted to, create Unmatched.
Thank you. That's great. And it's some alignment there where when I look at it's more of a place, I think, when it comes to sort of shifting narratives, right? Like
Mhm.
I started this because, like I said, I didn't like how people were, and I was selfish. I didn't like how people were talking about Baltimore, and I think with everything that's sort of baked into it, Black folks here, DIYers, people in the East Coast,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
definitely people that look like you and me. And
Mhm.
I'm like, how do we sort of shift that, and how do we treat Baltimore maybe as an export? Because I feel like people aren't aware of it, aren't aware of what happens here. You can't attach, all right, that person's from Baltimore, these five people are from Baltimore, or
Yeah.
even from a community standpoint of these people are in the LGBTQ plus community or what have you. It's like, how do you attach those? It's like it's a burden, but it also in terms of like one or two or what have you people being representative of a full community, but
Yeah.
also it's just like the opportunity is not even there a lot of times
Yeah.
to have that sort of crossover. And I think I'm a big sports guy as well. I like I'm a big baseball guy actually. And
Oh, okay. Okay. So we talking like Baltimore baseball or just like baseball in general?
um baseball, more baseball in general, but definitely Orioles. I worked there for a long time actually, and under yeah,
Case.
so but it is one of those things where in looking at sort of the major quote unquote male sports, you think of hockey, basketball, baseball, football.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
your point, no one was quote unquote out. No one was, during that time. The biggest story was probably like with Michael Sam, like how
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and, and in that situation was it just felt like a sort of media thing. And it's
Hmm.
just like, look, I don't want all of this. I want to be able to play. And I think that's sort of
Mm.
the thing.
Hmm. And when you're a younger person, the last thing on your mind, especially if you're a 7-year-old or 8-year-old, really thinking about, also identifies, you just want to go out there and play and kick a ball and throw a ball and run. That's all you're thinking about doing. So it's kind of maddening in some ways where you have some specific states that will not be mentioned, Florida. Um, I lied. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But that are specifically, put in policies or specifically trying to, essentially discourage LGBTQ plus youth from engaging in sports or just even existing. And it becomes even more maddening when it revolves around trans people. So it's just, and when I start thinking about it in terms of how it has a ripple effect, not just overall in our community, but also when it comes to people of color, when it comes to people of color who identify as queer, when it comes to people who are immigrants who identify as queer. And, when you already have that strife that exists just in overall, there's that ripple effect that even makes it harder for you if you're a person of color and identify as queer. So there's just a lot. It just doesn't make any sense why, you know, the sports culture that exists right now. It's a lot better than it was 20 years ago. I will say that. But now the main thing that's about consistency, it shouldn't just be in June when you're saying we are all about, representation and being inclusive in sports. It should be year round.
Yeah, I mean, when folks will take the sort of rainbow iconography and put it on their logo, and it's just, oh my, just
Yeah.
people are feeling seen. But
Yes.
the thing that I would want, in more so from I would want people now, because I think a lot of times folks try to hide behind you can't prove it. You can't prove this is what my values are and how I feel. It's
Mm.
like I want someone so high level, so tiered. It's like, man, he's the greatest of all time. Just Aaron Rodgers, he's out now. It's like, what?
I mean, no, I don't know if this is the right podcast for that, but Aaron Rodgers, yes, we all know if y'all followed, he is an interesting man. He has a lot of interesting views.
But yeah, but someone of that caliber,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
people who
yeah.
are sort of
I know what you mean. Yeah.
the sports pundits,
Tom Brady, if Tom Brady, if he at his heyday, if he had come out as queer, like imagine how much like the impact that would have in culture.
hmm?
I mean, it would have such a big impact, and I think that's where it's tough because you know it just doesn't make sense why we don't have like the last person I can think of that had such a visceral like impact and culture that transcended culture in a lot of ways was Billie Jean King,
Hmm.
and the battle of the sexes in terms of what that meant to the country, what it meant for women specifically. So and we're getting there in terms of some people like Megan Rapinoe, what she's been doing
Yeah.
is amazing for just women in general and women's soccer. But I won't lie, I would love to see more people of color who are LGBTQ plus as well. Because I feel like and I'm biased obviously, I feel like we're really great at everything.
So talk stepping back a little bit. Um, so can you speak about like over the what we're now in what year three, right? So,
Yes.
speaking about some of the sort of creative ways or unique ways that Unmatched has integrated like inclusivity and representation into like programming and sort of like outreach within the community.
Yeah, it's really in the foundations of our mission statement. So our mission statement is really we are geared towards trying to encourage LGBTQ plus youth and allies between the ages 5 to 18 to participate in sports and fitness. I've never really quite understood the idea, well, that's not true. I do understand the idea of being able to have specific settings and spaces that are geared towards just LGBTQ plus people or other people in our communities as well. So I completely understand that. But when it revolves around sports, you are going to play with other people who have different ideologies, who
Mhm.
have different ethnic backgrounds, who come from different parts of the world. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we didn't just have a space just for LGBTQ plus youth, but also allies. Anyone, and what an ally essentially means is, do you just support our existence? That's pretty much it. You support our existence, and from a micro level, or support our existence in sports. So, from that era, we try to be inclusive to everyone. And I've had people come up to me at our events, and they ask really inquiring questions of like, LGBTQ plus. You mean like if a kid is gay, why are you doing that for? Why are you having sports for kids that are gay? And I understand where that comes from because one of the first things I say, and I want to just give a disclaimer. I'm not an expert, I'm not an expert at anything. This is just from stuff I have read
Yeah.
that is easily available. If you just do like a nice little Google search or go to a library, you can find out some information about what I'm about to say. But really, it's about my response to when people say, okay, LGBTQ plus, you talk about sex and kids. I say it's not about that. It's about gender identity. It's about gender expression. And research has shown that as early, even the NIH has research about this, that as early as 2 years old, kids are beginning to understand their gender. So it doesn't make any sense where we have, and I know I'm kind of going off tangent here, but it doesn't make any sense how we have a kid that is within 3 or 4 years old, and they want to play sports, and they see boys and girls. Well, if they're beginning to feel like they don't fit in either category, where am I going to play then?
Right.
So that's why for me, I'm open to having conversations with anyone because if we can begin to have that conversation and we're showing that we're not just immediately shutting you off by asking that question,
Mm.
then we can have you join us and just see we just want to have kids have fun. That's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So we try to be inclusive in that area. We also try to be inclusive in terms of making sure that we have our events in areas, and this is something we're trying to build and have our events in areas that are not just in the Baltimore area, but we also do events in Howard County, Prince George, and Montgomery County as well.
Yeah. I'm going to make a sports comparison. It's going to be interesting, I think. So it's like, certain people of a certain age, they would have only seen like Vince Carter, right? And like the
Yeah.
Lakers, when that knee cartilage isn't there as much. When you watch like Vince Carter, like 98 through like 2005, and he's just dunking on everyone, it shows you sort of like the progression of a person.
Mm,
So I think that's sort of the thing. It's just like, this is
mm,
what this is at this moment. This is who this person is presenting themselves as. This is who this person is at this moment. But the opportunity
mm.
to be able to grow and to develop, I think, as a sport, if you're excluding anyone, you're
Yeah.
underserving it. You're doing a disservice to the sport by not allowing anyone to have the opportunity to go out there and pursue that, regardless of how they identify from a gender perspective, from whatever. And I think
Mhm.
people that are sort of those naysayers, they're not having and trying to engage into those conversations. And the fact that
Mhm.
yours, like, no, we can talk about this. Let's talk about it. Come to an understanding. And I think
Mhm.
that's something I really value. So I commend you for that. Thank you for that.
Oh, well, I mean, I appreciate, I get uncomfortable when people think about that. I don't know why, but I appreciate that. And not in like a bad way. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm, this is just, I'm just coming from this from a very purely logical standpoint and also based off of what, research has shown. Um, and I've never, yes, I agree with you. Like one of the things, of course, I agree with you. One of the things that we want to be able to do is to be able to have that conversation, but also not in a context of trying to be demeaning, because it's a really thin line in how you respond to someone and like saying, "Oh, you didn't know about that? Oh, you didn't think about this?" It's like, "Oh, well, this is what this is shown. This is what this is shown here in terms of like what research has shown. This is why we're trying to do X, Y, and Z." And really just saying, hey, look, if you want to talk more about this, I'm not an expert at this. Some of our one of our partners is Glisten, Maryland. Say, hey, look, reach out to them. They can provide you more resources. They can provide you more data points as to why we just having more environments that are more inclusive are not only going to be healthier for kids, but not just that specific kids, but just kids in general and our community in general. So that's kind of how I like to look at it. And in terms of sports analogy and growing, I'm not sure if this really adds into it, but I think of how the impact of having someone in a sport and how that kind of have an effect on the whole sport can be really great. And one of my biggest idols is Serena Williams. I love her so much, but I won't completely make a fool of myself in terms of how much I love her. And just think about the impact she had in the sport and how she started and the growth that she had. And not just her, but her dad and how people were reacting to her dad. And now you see dads just as involved with their kids. Now you see dads who are coaching their kids, and now you see the game has changed. So I feel like for me, it's just that level of growth. If we could just implement and have more people who are queer on a consistent basis, quite honestly, in different sports, I think you would see a change, and I think you will actually see more viewership as well.
I I agree with that. That's logical. That makes a lot of sense. It's legit. And when you think of like impact, you just need to see someone that is in one of these sort of like prominent spots that is just like, it's okay. It's okay. I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with the scrutiny or whatever else that comes along with it. Non the sort of non-sport or non, like you can like be a part of everything that you're in, but like as far as the press component around it, that's the thing that always
Yeah.
gets me. And I've been looking at some like recent interviews with like Ken Griffey Jr. And I remember, as a kid, just like I will see every black kid walking around like kind of turn my hat backwards. I'm trying to swing like Griffey and all of
Yeah.
that. So that has an impact that you can see, you know.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, the sort of like analytics data guy, the analytics around like sort of like baseball now in terms of like black community, those numbers are small as far
Oh
as
yeah.
having like black folks, so a smaller group that's in it. So I would imagine if it's like someone's like, I'm black and I'm queer and I want to play, it's like
Yeah.
a smaller subset.
Yeah.
So it's like having someone is like, that's my guy right there. That's my
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that could be a whole other conversation as it relates to like, black representation in baseball. That's a
Look,
whole other
I'm a
conversation.
black guy that said like love baseball. It's like
I was such a big fan of Adam Jones when he played for the Orioles. And if y'all should just look up Adam Jones, if you don't know Adam Jones, look him up. He's had some very colorful languages, and I just love how straight to the point he is, especially what his thoughts about playing in Fenway Park. Let's leave it at
it was
that.
great. It was great. I remember this. And has a burger named after him, and Abby Burger. So go pull up.
Yes, yes, he does.
Yeah, Jonesy. So I want to hear if you could share, just something that comes to mind, like, obviously there are going to be challenges, but let's talk about, a couple of the challenges, but some of the wins, like some of those major wins. Like, is there an experience that like comes to mind where, someone like popped over their team? It's like, I really appreciate this work. I really am just feeling like I'm seen and I'm feeling like I should keep going. I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a basketball player, what have you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Um, so I always have mixed feelings about wins. Because it's on one hand, it's incredibly inspiring. It feels there's a level of joy that and a level of accomplishment that comes with a parent. We've had multiple parents come to, not just myself, but our other volunteers, other people on our board. And they talk about this is the first time their child has ever been around other queer kids. And it's the first time they can just play and have a good time. We've received emails from parents saying, "Hey, my child is queer and they are on the wrestling team and they get bullied." And, and coming to our event is this made them change their whole week. It's made them see that sports is something they want to continue in. And they're crying, and now I'm crying, and we're all having this cry fest, you know. So it's great to have that feeling. For the other hand, so that's a win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also incredibly sad that in 2023, as I mentioned before, we still have specific states that are not geared towards literally trying to discourage LGBTQ plus youth from participating in sports. And it's all the things I said previously. So it's like, like I think when Karna Sib came out, last year, I believe, or 2 years ago, I don't remember. He said, I wish I do. One of the things that I wish we don't have to always tell people have this coming out story. And I agree. I think Asian sports should just be, it doesn't matter how you identify, just play and have a good time. So yeah, it's a win to have those experiences, but it's also kind of sad that we still have these issues going on. But part of a win too, and I don't know, I'm gonna say it, but part of a win also is being able to speak to you and the platform that you are giving us to be able to tell our story and to tell our mission and what we're trying to accomplish. So that's a win for us because this is going to go out to other people who support our mission, but maybe some people who are on the fence and not sure. Being able to have two people, someone who is an ally and someone who is a gay man who loves him, whose favorite drag queen is Bob the drag queen. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But, but yeah, like this thing to have this thing where and something we share where we both like to be spicy in the way we respond to people. So like like we can come from different facts of life. That's a win. And I would be remiss, and yes, I'm going towards the business angle. It is what it is. But I'll be remiss to not also say that it feels incredibly great to get the support that we have gotten from you know, local businesses and local organizations, and some of the big corporations such as Under Armour, Big Sporting Goods Foundation, the Baltimore Community Foundation, the Baltimore Ravens, the Baltimore Orioles, Movement Gyms. I can go on. Stonewall Climbing has been really great to us. So it's just been good to see all these people. And recently, Monumental Sports has reached out to us and has also been shown the support in our mission statement and given us support as well. So it's good to see that people are resonating with our mission and realize that there needs to be a change. It needs to happen now. And I believe we'll accomplish that. So that's a win.
It's great. It's great to hear that. And yeah, it's being able to celebrate those wins, acknowledge that there's always a lot more work to do because you don't want to have complacency, obviously. And I think in
Yeah.
anything, it's always like, acknowledge those wins, acknowledge sort of the impact that's there because it's a long process. And
Yeah.
in hearing about just some of those wins, it's really great in how you're identifying like what is a win because a lot of times folks get discouraged and it's like, well, if I don't have this right now, everything else is
Yeah.
pointless. And it's like it's not how the world works.
Mhm.
But
Well,
yeah.
it's one of those things that I sorry for interrupting. I 1000 agree with you there because you actually, bring it back to a sports analogy, you learn more from your losses than you do your wins. And when evidently it's going to happen when you're in the process of creating anything. This is one thing I've learned, but just in life in general, it becomes more prominent when you start a nonprofit.
Yeah.
But one of the things you learn is that there are going to be times where it's going to be incredibly difficult. There are going to be times where you hear that no multiple times. There are going to be times where you are just incredibly tired. But then when you have that, when you see a child, in this case, contextually come to your event and they're coming to a climbing gym and they're climbing, and when the event is over, they say they don't want to leave. That is like, oh my gosh, it just makes me feel like everything else, all the struggles, all the everything that came into building everything, it just makes it worth it.
Um, and I'll make one comparison. It makes me think of how football works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you're gonna take a few losses. You're not gonna
Mhm.
always get that 99-yard touchdown run. It might be like, all right, I went backwards a couple yards. All right, that's
Although Lamar's had a lot more of those moments where it's like, good Lord, you're not human.
right.
How did you make that play? Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
But it's definitely, I think, like looking at how progress works. And I think it's like you can't just throw the ball down the field each time and just
Yeah.
expect to score every time. Sometimes you need those sort of smaller incremental things, whether it be being on a podcast, whether it be doing an event, whether it be collaborating with someone. Those are like those 10-yard, those 15-yard gains. And then eventually it's just like, now I can just throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
It's only going to be this, and it's like this leads me to the next thing. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of those like analogies that's so salient. So I got one last real question, and I want to be able to like kind of connect it to like upcoming events. I believe I read about a fundraiser that's coming up. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Yeah, as I told you, I talk a lot. I told you this, Rob. But yes, thank you. We do have an upcoming fundraiser event. It's on June the 17th. It's going to be in Union Collective. That's in Hamden. And we are so incredibly proud and so incredibly thankful for all the businesses in the Union Collective. Obviously, New York Craft Brewing being top of that, and also Movement Hamden, because we're going to be having a climate event. So to talk more about the fundraiser, the funds really is just more for organization support. I have a day job. Most of the people on our board have a day job. So we are doing this purely mostly from good Lord, why am I can't think of the word? But we're doing this mostly from a volunteer perspective. And the funds that we get from this are going to go to us being able for us to have more events so that we can reserve more fields and have more events. That way we can compensate a lot of our volunteers, because some of our volunteers are taking time out of their schedules to come and work with our kids. That includes myself, that includes our board, that includes the people who are our volunteer coordinators and our marketing coordinators. So being able to provide some like snacks and food for our kids and for our volunteers. So that's where all these funds are going towards to help us out. Yeah, so that's going to be on June 17th. It's free. Again, it's going to be a movement. It's going to be at Union Collective. And we just to talk more about it. Well, and during the day, we're going to have climbing again, free for all kids. In the evening, we'll have a stoop storytelling, and then we'll also have a drag performance as well, starting at 7:30. So we're going to be giving out a raffle gift package as well. So everyone's going to get a complimentary raffle ticket. So we'd like to see everyone come out for that.
That's great. Sounds like a full event. I Many of the names mentioned. I love the sort of collaboration. I love the community components, Stoop Stories. Union, the whole thing. It's great, and it's definitely supporting the mission and keeping the good work that's going. That's a weird way to put that. Let's keeping the good work going up. Um, so thank you for that, and I'm hoping for big things for you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah. So now, with all of the goodwill, right, that we've established, now it's time to
Mhm.
get weird with these rapid fire questions.
Oh, I love being weird. Let's do it.
So I would just say don't overthink them. Uh,
Okay.
they're kind of all over the place, but I think the sort of purpose of it is not to solely like. I think people buy the concept, right, of like I like this person based on if they feel like they know them. So that's really what the purpose
Yes.
of it is. Yeah. So
Okay.
here's the first one. Do you have a favorite animal?
I do. And it's really basic as basic as
Great.
Yeah, we ain't gonna say that word. But I love dogs. I love dogs for all the reasons everyone loves dogs, man's best friend. And they're loyal. They will be there for you. They will do this for you. But what's interesting about that is that we have three cats. So it has really worked out on that. My husband loves cats, and that's what it is. We have three of them. So there you go.
Yeah, my girl has three cats and a 90-pound sheeperdoodle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's wild out there.
I mean, it's House the Perry, whatever that show is called.
She wants to get a bird and a rabbit as well. I'm like, yo, you've got to sort this out. This is a lot.
Hey, look, I mean, Dr. Doolittle, let's do it, you know?
um, let's see. I like to frame this question like locally. Do you have
Mhm.
a favorite place to get a meal? Like, what's your favorite place to grab a meal?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, and maybe this says something about this about me, it's about going to Clavel. I'm sorry, I do. I
Yeah,
mean, their drinks, it's not, I mean, it's good. I love their drinks, I love their tacos. I love it there. It's tough because Baltimore is just one of those areas that there's so many places you could go to. Like I could go to our house and I can go to I can go to the vegan spot that they have there. I love Land of Kush as well. I love going there very often. But the first thing that goes to mind is Clavel. I know what I need to go. I know exactly what I need to, and I walk from there to WC Harlan.
I dig it. I dig it. I went to Lane's new place, the Coral Wig, this past weekend.
Uh,
It's
I
it's
haven't been there before yet. I need to go.
it's open recent. It's nice. It's nice.
Okay,
It's
okay.
definitely got that vibe. And I was like, you know how when you see something that connects with a certain brand or kind of what you're expecting from a person, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
absolutely a Lane place. I was when I went there, I was like, it's like where's the brightness? It's like, nah, this is like in this the sort of like synopsis about it. It's supposed to remind you of like little like clubs in the 80s in like I think the Philippines. It has that vibe. It was
Ooh.
great. It was great.
Okay. Oh, I love that. That's a
Uh-huh.
very, very good. I love being able to go to places where you're just kind of transported to another area and you could just be in that vibe. I love that. I absolutely love that. Yes, and I think that's one of the reasons why I don't. By the way, I don't know anyone at WC Harlan. I do not know them, but like I do not know anyone at Club Bell either. I don't know anyone at Man of Kush. I don't know any of these people. But when I go to WC Harlan, it also has that vibe of like just very. It's a different. It just I feel like I'm in like I feel like I'm in like the 70s and it's very artistic. And I feel like I'm not artistic in any way, shape, or form. When I go there, I feel like, yes, I'm an artist. I can do this little painting over here. I can do that.
So I got two more questions for you.
Sure.
One is I like puns. I'm an old man now. And it goes a little something like this. Name a few athletes that are unmatched in your opinion.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to start off by saying that the idea of unmatched, because I never got to this, was that your best effort is incomparable to anyone else. But I know that's cheesy, but I love it.
Not at all. I like it. I like it a lot.
So I mean, I kind of mentioned one of them. Serena Williams is unmatched. I mean, absolutely. I feel like another athlete that is unmatched is Billie Jean King. I think Lachey Clarendon is unmatched. I think Andrea Yearwood is unmatched. I think Casta Semenya is unmatched. I love athletes. I think Michael Jordan is unmatched. I think LeBron is unmatched. I think Lamar Jackson is Lamar. I can go on and on. I think Alex Ovechkin is unmatched, but I'm going to actually say someone that might be maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit unconventional, but I don't think they get a lot of respect. Um, I think that, okay, wait, y'all might not like this, but I think that Adley Rushman right now is Unmatched because what he is doing,
Mhm.
I feel like he's absolutely changed. He single-handedly has changed the franchise of Baltimore. And when I think of Unmatched, I think of people who are like, like obviously in the context of what you're saying, these are people that cannot be touched. But someone who's still new, it's like, oh, no, you need to show a little bit more before I can put you in that area. But I think athletes in that era right now where he will get there. He will be an all-time warrior great. So those would be the athletes that I would say that are unmatched in my head.
That's great. That's great. I definitely no notes. You said them all, and I agree with all of them. Definitely big shout out to Adley Rushman with the just looking at you look at that impact. It's like what are you guys doing? And as soon as dude comes up, it's like what's that winning percentage since he's been in the
I
line?
know, like literally, once he got in, they have had a winning percentage. Yes, and yes. I think he's the person, he's that anchor for the team. He brings everyone together.
Yeah.
And I think he's low key kind of funny as well.
I mean, his nickname was Dadly Rushman at one time because he has dad energy at like 25. It's really
I
funny.
know he does have a lot of that energy, very like like bad jokes,
Yeah,
dry
yeah.
jokes.
It's an Aquarius thing. I don't know what to tell you. I have an Aquarius. So this is the last one. I read that you spend time watching TV shows with questionable people.
Mm, yeah,
I read that bio. I read the bio. What are you currently watching?
oh, so I mean, I'm sorry. I like watching shows that have not the best of people in the world. And The Succession is one of my favorite shows. I absolutely love that show. And nobody in that show is a good person.
They're all terrible people.
They're all terrible people. Maybe the granddad of like what's his name? Wait, is it Greg? The father of Greg?
James Cromwell.
Yes, yes, yes. Except him, he seems to be the only one. He has some questionable shit. He has some questionable things going on as well.
He could
So,
be he could be a little spicy. I'll say because
yeah, 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 yeah.
in one of those episodes that is towards the end of things, he was just like, "My brother was this," and I was like, "Yo," I was like, "This,
Exactly.
this is not the place, sir."
I don't ruin it for me because I am at the last episode, and so this happened to the episode prior to the last episode,
You've seen
obviously.
that,
And
yeah, yeah.
he said he goes up there and says, "Oh, to think that they would be like the brother come up here and speak."
It's great.
I like him. I like he's got some sass on him, so I like it. So yes, that's one of them. And I don't really watch now. Someone might take my gay card away from me when I say this, but I don't watch Housewives, any of the Housewives. But I will sometimes put on like the moments where they are kind of going at each other. So like if I'll see a Nene Leakes and a Kim Zoliak, whatever her name is, I will see them going at it anytime they want to, or Nene and a Kenya Moore going at each other. I think it's fun. I take a popcorn, I eat that all day. So, and probably I don't know that I've never met them. They're probably lovely women, they're lovely people, but it you know I don't know if they. I don't think I would treat my friends that way.
This is great. This is great. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good because we enjoy that type of stuff, and
Yeah.
I spend a fair amount of time like I don't care about a lot of stuff when it comes to like pop culture. I think you're kind of around well in terms of fandom, and when it comes to like reality TV, that's like the pop culture. I'm kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every now and again, when I'm watching something, because I really like chefs, but I watch something that has that
Oh.
and then
Yeah.
when I feel like chefs are getting mistreated, like I was saying earlier before we got started, when people are rude,
Mhm.
I get really tight. So I was watching something and like this soul food thing, and because now I'm start looking at soul food, and
Yeah.
that's where my girl was like, "You're really tight about these people." I was like, "I am. I fell for the trap. I fell for the trap." I was like, "I'm sure they have lovely food, but I don't want their business to succeed." She's like, "Wow,
So you understand how I feel. You
yes,
understand exactly how
absolutely."
I feel.
So So I think we got the main thing in there. So in these final moments, I want to thank you for coming on, making the time. This has been swell. This has been great.
Gosh, thank you.
Absolutely. And secondly, I want to invite and encourage you to share with the listeners anything you got in the last moments here. Like, plug away, plug the website, social media, upcoming events, everything. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you again, Rob. I thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to be on your podcast. I mean, if y'all have not been listening, you cover such an array of topics, different wonderful people on your show. So thank you for this opportunity. You're definitely having an impact in the community. And I will, if you would like to, we would love to have you come out to our fundraiser event on June the 17th again in Union Collective. We're going to be there from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. So I know you got time in your schedule to come to one of that time slot, okay? So if, we'll love to see you out on June the 17th. If you give us a follow on social media, that's at Unmatched ATHL. And if our email address, if you want to send an email, as I said, we're always open to conversations. You can email us at info@unmatchedathlete.org.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Olanrele Oni for coming onto the podcast from Unmatched Athlete. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, community, people doing great things in and around your neck of the woods. You just got to look for them.